What you're about to watch is an unfiltered conversation between me and the creator of Gorilla Tag, Lemming. This is actually the first full conversation I've ever had with him, and at the end of it, I asked him what he thinks about me. His response was interesting. I just want to say that this is a full circle moment for me. 4 years ago, I was just a new gorilla jumping from tutorial, and now the Curly Gang is the world's largest VR community. So anyways, consider this episode 1 of J-Man's podcast, my new show where I interview interesting people from all over the world. And if you haven't already, please come join the Discord server. It's the best place to talk to me, and I would love to see you there. Finally, I want to say the biggest thank you to Lemming and Gorilla Tag, because without them, I wouldn't be here, and their game rocks. Shiny, thank you guys for everything you have given me. Please enjoy.
This is it, man. We've made it. Welcome to the interview. First of all,
thank you.
I gotta shake your hand. I don't know if we would be here without each other. In a very weird way, you know, I would say like Gorilla Tag is one of a kind. There's nothing that exists like Gorilla Tag. There's nothing that has had an impact on gamers like Gorilla Tag. I think it's spawned a new wave of creators, kids that want to make games. I think you inspired a ton of kids. And it's like we're two totally different people from different backgrounds on different parts of the earth, like literally the opposite sides of the earth. And somehow our lives got intertwined into this insane adventure. So what is going through your mind when you see this game that you've made for fun and it's just blown way out of proportion? Like, how do you grasp that kind of success?
One of the things I try to do is not think about it too much, you know? Like, once all the numbers get involved, they're just like too big in a lot of ways, you know? Like if you see a room with 1,000 people in it, you're like, oh my God, there's so many people in this room. And then 1,000,000 people is 1,000 times more than that. Like, you can't reasonably comprehend it, you know? Like, for me, I just keep coming back to the fact that when I was building Gorilla Tag, I was just in a Discord server. I was making something that I thought was cool. I had some other people that I had made friends with in other communities who were checking it out, and they thought it was cool. And it was this feeling of like, oh, I just want to share this with people. And when it reached the point where I found out, oh, there's so many other people who also feel the way I do about this thing, you know? Like, to me, that's been the special part. It's not just that, oh, this thing is successful, which is, you know, cool in its own right, sure. But it's that there are so many people who also care about this thing that I deeply care about, you know? Like, I think that there are so many things in the world where it's like, you will often feel like you're the only person, you know, like in your sphere, in your day-to-day life or whatever. You might be really passionate about something, and then maybe you run into a few other people who also care. So I think what's been so cool about VR is that you can care about something and then meet all the people in there who also really care about it. And that, to me, that's been what's been amazing. Because I think that, like, VR is such a new and different and interesting thing that it's been tough to know what it was going to be. You know, like, I think that a lot of the stuff that people originally thought VR was going to be, you know, oh, it's going to be this thing that focuses on photorealism and it's all about the visuals and you need the depth perception and There are so many things that people thought were going to be the most important things. And what's been so cool is just that, like, with stuff like Gorilla Tag and all these other games, it's that feeling of being present with another person, of walking through a virtual world and sharing that experience with somebody else. And that, like, that interpersonal, like, connection is actually the most important thing. And that, to me, that's the coolest part.
So you come from Echo Arena as a professional player. You're used to this movement system, which is zero gravity. For those who don't know, Echo's not even a thing anymore, right?
They shut it down.
How did you feel about them shutting it down?
You can still play it. Don't tell anybody. I mean, it sucked, right? Like it was, you know, it was such a formative experience in VR for me. Like, you know, talking about what I thought VR was going to be before Echo, it was very similar, right? Like, wow, this is so cool. I can't wait until the graphics get better, and, you know, you can do cooler things, and, you know, other game companies will make games and all these things. But with Echo, it was like that the way the movement worked and the connection you had with the environment. Like, the thing for me it was the first game where it wasn't just like, oh, cool, this is a game where you can do X, Y, or Z. It was like, it felt like that's what zero gravity would feel like. You know, it's this experience of like, so for anybody who doesn't know, it's a zero gravity 3v3 disc game where you're trying to get it in the goal on the other side of the field. And the way you move is you've got these little thrusters, but you can also grab the wall and push off of it. And that was the first time you grab the wall and push and you're just floating away. Like coming after other VR games, they were either you just walk around your room, which is cool because you're walking around, but
or joystick.
You can only have the room, or joystick, which is like, the joystick kind of sucks, you know? Like, it works in a lot of cases, but the feeling of pushing a joystick and moving around the room and you're just sort of sliding through the space, that doesn't feel like you're there, you know? It feels like you're sort of piloting this little, like, you know, drone around a space and you're getting the vision, but it doesn't feel like you're there. But when
it's also nauseating.
Oh, yeah, I mean, aside, right?
Yeah,
that minor detail.
But would you say that the fact, like, when I play Gorilla Tag, I don't get the same motion sickness as I would with some type of roller coaster game because I imagine that when I swing my hand, it's brain input, movement output.
Yeah.
So your brain's expecting to move, so you don't really feel sick. Is that true?
That's what I think. Like, it's when I was building Gorilla Tag, it was off of the Echo Arena stuff where it's like, okay, this experience of being in zero G, of grabbing a surface, of pushing off of it, that's all really amazing. But there are some problems with it, right? Like, if you grab a wall, now you're locked one-to-one with where you're grabbing. And when you want to push off, you know, your arm kind of has this arc, right? You can, as you swing down, it starts curving, and towards the end, your movement ends up not being in a straight line because your arm just biomechanically is twisting. And then when you have that last little twist, if you let go, you end up hooking in the wrong direction. So they have some smoothing to make sure that you're going in a straight line. But right when you release, you have that little moment where you were initially veering off to the side and then you lurch back and go in this other direction. There's just this little hitch. And that feeling was the kind of thing where it's like, okay, all this stuff is great, but there's that little bit of grunge to it. So going back to Gorilla Tag, it was like, okay, in my mind, I want to have the experience of just walking, just like you would in real life. But okay, I have to stand in this space, so what if you walk on your hands? And it's the same thing as Echo Arena, except you're not grabbing, you're just pushing. And because you're pushing, you don't have that little hitch, because as you're pushing your hand, eventually you're reaching some speed. And now when your hand hooks, it's not that your movement is going to hook, it's that your acceleration slows down. So all of a sudden you've reached your maximum acceleration and you start slowing down. And instead of sticking to your hand, you just keep going because your hand's no longer propelling you. So now you don't have the hitch and it feels natural, just like you're walking across the room. And that's kind of like, for me, that connection to the environment. Now it's through your hands instead of your feet. It's very much in the same way, like you're saying. Your brain, when you're walking across a room and it knows that it pushes off with your foot, it expects to feel the movement. And in VR, if your hand pushes off the floor, your brain expects to feel the movement. So it's not only something that feels very connected and natural to the space, your brain also expects it, so now you're not getting sick. And that is so critical for both having a good experience of feeling connected to the environment and also not, you know, painting the walls. Yeah.
Like, how did you know these things? Like, is your background development, did you go to school for that? Or like what inclined you to pay such detailed attention to the mechanics of this VR human movement assimilation, you know?
So back in school, I was actually a mechanical engineering major. This is an engineer.
Oh, you got the ring. Here, show that to the camera real quick,
yeah.
bro. This props right there. He's got the ring that shows
I'm a huge dork.
You put the work in, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but continue.
So, I wanted to do mechanical engineering. I liked building stuff. I liked seeing things in front of me in real life. And then I ended up doing software development because it's so much easier to do software development.
And welding and like holding big things and whatever.
You know, I graduated around the time like there was this government sequester happening, so a lot of contracts with the government got cut. So a lot of engineering mechanical engineering businesses, a lot of them, like anybody who does aerospace, all that kind of stuff, they didn't have their contracts going through until kind of the year after I graduated. So it was tough to find a job. So I ended up doing software development. And then I was doing that for a long time. And VR was just kind of a hobby. Like, I was just super into it. I was really passionate about it. Echo Arena was the game that made me like have this experience of like, okay, VR is really cool, but there's also something else about it. And so I spent a long time like trying to pay very close attention to like, why am I reacting like this? Like, I'm a pretty introverted person. Like, I don't really like going outside. I don't really like talking to people. I like staying in my little den and just doing my own thing.
Your craft.
And with Echo Arena, I was playing that game and I ended up talking to people and interacting with them, and eventually I joined a team, which is not something that I ever thought I would do. And I ended up competing in that game and being successful, which was awesome. But sort of like after doing all of that, I was just thinking like, what was it about this game and experience that caused me to want to do these things? Like, I think in game design, a lot of what you're doing is not like coming up with a fun idea, right? Because everybody's got fun ideas. But what you're really trying to do is, how do you create an environment so the player is just naturally going to do things that they will enjoy the most?
That's very sandbox.
Well, it's not just sandbox, because it's like, you think of it like Disneyland is always a great example of this kind of thing, where they structure the park in a way where the feeling of the people who go there is, oh, there's something really cool that I can just barely see. So you start traveling to it, and then you see something else interesting, and then you wait in line for something, and they construct the line in a way where it doesn't feel like you're in a line, and you get these sight lines to other things, and like, oh, maybe I'll check that out afterwards. And afterwards, you're like, wow, if I had just had a map from the top down, I wouldn't have chosen to go here, then here, then here, then here, then here. But because I did all of those things, I had a much better time.
Yes.
So that was kind of the thought I had about VR, is like, what was it about Echo and my experience here that made me just naturally talk to people instead of thinking, okay, am I going to go out and talk to somebody? I was just in an environment where it was natural to talk to somebody. It's like a subtle difference, but it's really important.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's kind of like trying to understand that and pay attention to it. So this was around the time of like 2019, and that was when I was like, okay, Echo Arena I think is like really upped the game in terms of VR, and it's been out for a few years, and I felt like I wasn't seeing other people pick up on what they had been doing. So my thought was like, okay, well, if I think I've got a sense of why I really connected to this game, the movement, right? Like that hand-based movement where you have that direct relationship to the environment. Like, to me, that was one of the key insights, is that VR is actually less about the visuals than you think it would be. Like, when VR first came out, people were like, it's got to be the photorealistic
like
graphics,
RTX, perfect
the
lighting,
PC,
water,
all this crazy stuff. And it was much more of a seeing is believing thing, right? Like, oh, if everything looks real, then I'll feel like it's real. But, that's not how we interact with most things day to day. The way you interact with the world and put your influence on it is through your body. It's through your hands. It's through your feet. If I have something on the table that I want to pick up, also because I needed a sip of water.
That was for dramatic effect.
But I use my hands to do it, right? That's how the feeling of being at this table
for sure
is, that I can grab and do stuff. And so by the same token, if you're playing a VR game and you put your hand and it goes through the table, it doesn't feel like the table's there. But in Echo Arena, you could grab the table and push off of it, and you would float away. And now, it's not that there's this table in this VR world that I'm just sort of seeing. It's this table in the VR world that can push me.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. It's this two-way street. I can influence the world, and the world can influence me. That's what puts me in this place.
Right. So because the movement was so... well, I guess what I'm trying to say is the movement style elevates the entire game, because now every surface can now be used to your advantage. It's not just a container for whatever the game is.
It's what places you in that world. Like, you can move around with your eyes closed, right? Because you can feel through the space. Okay, there's something here, I'm gonna get around that. And that developing that very strong kinesthetic feeling in your body that you have this connection to a virtual space, that is incredibly important for the experience of, why am I putting the headset on at all, right? Like, it's bulky, it's heavy, it's kind of annoying, you get sweaty, you have to charge it. Why am I doing all of these things? It's because it can put me somewhere else. And that experience is very powerful. And that was one of the pieces. But then the other piece was that, like, the way they had built these social areas was, okay, you've got the 3v3 play area that you want to do. But before you go in there, I press matchmaking, and now I'm just hanging out for 5 minutes, but there's a bunch of people around, and they're throwing the disc back and forth. And, well, I'm waiting, and these people are here. People just start talking to each other. Someone throws the disc to you. You know, someone's clearly fumbling around and is confused, and you just go and help them out. You just figured out a cool trick, and you want to show it off. It was an environment where my intention was to I just want to matchmake, because I want to grind, right? Like, if I play any of these competitive games, I just want to grind MMR or whatever. I don't want to talk to anybody. But because of that environment, you ended up doing it. And while you're playing a match, after someone scores a goal, you say, you know, hey, you know, great job or whatever. You say, you know, hey, screw you. Sorry, I don't know what language I use. But that's like, that was awesome, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
That's quick side tangent. Not that I'm.
You mean like
tangent.
trash talk?
Toxicity is such a weird thing in games, because so much of it is awful, right? Some people are just bad people.
Sure.
But the rest of it is like, nobody ever always gets along. You can have two great people, and sometimes they just rub each other the wrong way. And, you know, you obviously don't want to encourage or create situations where people are encouraged to be toxic. But it's interesting how much of a true experience it is to be in a situation where it feels like you're with somebody so much that they kind of piss you off a little bit.
Of course.
That's how we connect with people, you know? That's how you learn how to deal with people as people, right?
Of course.
If I'm going to be toxic and it feels like I'm sitting next to somebody, it's a very different thing than if I'm just toxic.
That is so true.
Right?
That's so true.
It's almost an opportunity to like learn how to deal with it. And of course, some people are just like hideous people, right?
Sure.
And you want to block.
But there's someone behind the headset. There's another face right there, you know.
And learning how to deal with people and interact and have those true experiences, like that's part of being a person.
Sure.
And that's what's so cool about VR. It gives you that full range.
Yeah,
you know?
and there's a difference between like toxicity of like really being a mean person, like mean-spirited, like you're trying to hurt someone, and then there's toxicity, or I wouldn't even call it toxicity, it's more like playful trash talking, where you can say things that maybe are not so acceptable, but it's the nature of the competition. Like, it actually incentivizes people to want to win more, and they want to play more, you know?
And it's also just like, it's so interesting how there's I think there's like classic video game trash talk and negativity and toxicity, right? Something like, I'm thinking in my mind like League of Legends type stuff,
Call of
right?
Duty, whatever.
Yeah, that is generally people venting, right? They're just pissed off and they just like want to get something off their chest, whatever. I think a lot of that is not productive. But because it's a game and you're just typing text or hearing a voice, it doesn't feel like there's a person on the other end. But in VR, there's also this opportunity to like learn how to deal with it in a more productive way almost. Like in Gorilla Tag, one of the really cool interactions that I didn't expect is like having that report board there. And when someone goes to report somebody, it's this very interesting moment of like,
Wait.
I don't want to be reported. I didn't mean like right? Like if you're playing another game, someone just goes to the menu and you don't know that they report you.
Right.
Now, and not only is it like, please don't report me, or maybe like, okay, maybe I'll rein it in. They also see, hey, that guy's going to report that person. You know what? I'm going to take it seriously too. Like, and now it becomes this community thing about encouraging people. Like, And another thing that's so cool about Gorilla Tag is that moment of like seeing a new player come off the cliff, and everybody's like, hey, that person's new. You see them moving around, you want to introduce them to the game, you want to show them how to move. And like while we're working on the game, like of course you don't want to allow people to just grief each other and ruin their game and mess with people in negative ways. but you also don't want to remove those opportunities for like really awesome experiences, you know?
True that.
Like that was one of the big things when we were working on Monkey Blocks, is like we had a lot of back and forth around like, okay, I've got a piece in my hand and I'm building it. Should someone else be able to grab it? And of course, players can grief other people by just messing with them and doing all kinds of stuff. But then you lose the ability to just like hand somebody something and for them to take it out of your hand because you're trying to give it to them, right? Like if you disallow grabbing straight from their hand.
Well, it's also a social setting. So imagine we're in real life. I come over to your blocks, I mess up your whole play space. Every kid in the playgrounds will be like, dude, what are you doing, bro? There's now a social pressure that's organically created by the kids. You know what I mean?
It's such a unique medium. Like, this is ultimately why I see VR as just so valuable as a technology, right? Like, not just this is an interesting medium for doing specific things. It's the only technology that is like, connects people in a way that feels like you're interacting with them in real life. You know? Like,
for sure.
There's a big difference, I think, between the way technology connects people, if you're talking about like social media or the internet or all those kinds of things, right? Like video chats and texting and all these things. Like, of course that connects people, right? Like, without the internet, you have to like, you know, send a letter or whatever, and that shows up who knows when. But all those technologies, pretty much, they connect people in a way that is nowhere close to the in-person experience, right? Like nobody, like we're talking together in the same room, and it's completely different than if we were like on a Zoom call, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, but VR, it gives you enough of a feeling that you're actually present with somebody else.
I mean, expressing yourself with your hands is half the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like where you're looking, what your body language is, like just sharing the experience of like, oh, look at that thing over there. Like, that feeling of being in the same place together, that's something that only VR can do. And it's also interesting the scale of it. Like when you talk about social media and stuff, right? It's billions of people with billions of other people. And I know we were talking about the numbers before. It's incomprehensible, right? Like, I think that's one of the biggest struggles about technology and social media right now. You know, you look at these numbers and you've got no way to understand what they really mean. You just want the numbers to go up. But with VR, you can't be in a room with 10,000 other people. It's just a cacophony, right? Like, think of it like even if you're at like a sporting event or something, right? There are so many people out there, but you're still only directly interacting with the person next to you. And it's the same thing in VR where it brings it back. It's much more intimate and personal, and now it's not, I'm connected with millions of people at the same time. It's like, I'm in a room with 10 other people, and we can talk about stuff, and we can hang out, and we can laugh, and we can do things, and it feels like we're there together. And it's of course not the same thing as being together in real life, right? Like, us being in this room right now is not going to be totally replaceable by VR.
No, but
you get something, right?
Well,
like,
VR taps into the human thing.
Yeah, it's not all the way there, but it's the only technology that gets close enough that you get enough of that feeling that it's like emotionally valuable in some way. Like, I think it was really interesting how much VR kind of like, or Gorilla Tag at least, like coincided a lot with what was happening with COVID, where, you know, everybody was stuck inside. You couldn't go out, you couldn't interact with your friends. You were having this feeling of like I don't know about you, but not just isolation, but like also isolation. But even then, once I started going out again, it feels off because you've been trained to be scared of these larger crowds and stuff, right? So it was like, I think a really great like natural experiment of like the kids who were playing VR during that period and could have those connections. I bet there was a lot of socialization that happened there that made up for a significant portion of what was missed out.
And Gorilla Tag is neutral ground. It's a forest with monkeys. It's very digestible. So you play Echo Arena. Is it safe to say that it kind of got you maybe out of your shell a bit, like joining a team and you know, having these social moments, if there's a better way to say that?
No, that's absolutely it. I love my shell, and
exactly.
I got out of it a little bit.
So Echo Arena got you out of there, or at least it was a vehicle for you to do that. You then based off that movement, create your own movement style, which has become like pretty much the standard for what kids enjoy in VR.
Yeah.
No, I mean, all the top games on the store are using some type of this locomotion. So at what point did you realize after its launch and success that, okay, this is more of a business now? How was that transition for you to go from, I'm just a dude making a game, to now, this is a serious corporation?
I think it was interesting for the first year. Like, so the timeline was, it released in the beginning of 2021. So I was working on it throughout all of 2020. Then,
what was its official release date? Like when you first put it out to the world on Reddit, or
I think
not
it
Reddit,
was. I think it was February 2021, like February something, 15th. I don't know, something like that. That was SideQuest, Steam. I think those were the main two, and then eventually App Lab came out, and I put it there. So what was interesting is for that first year, you couldn't actually sell in-app purchases on App Lab, which was like where most people were playing on Quest. So I wasn't able really to see how it was going to do until November that year. I think that was when they first released it. So there was actually a period where I was selling in-app purchases on Steam, but because there were so many fewer people there, like the server costs started to eat into it. So there was a month where I went into the red, like overall, just from all the costs and stuff. But it was in July of that year where I took a sabbatical from my job. I used to work at a company called Workday doing, I forget what. It was
well, it seemed to have really left an impact on your life.
It was boring. You know, it was like, I felt good about the stuff I did there, but it was boring,
sure.
man. Like, so yeah, I took a sabbatical, and then it was around the end of that year when it was actually like making money because I could sell stuff, and that's when it was like, both this is awesome and also like, oh no, you
Holy
know,
crap.
like
Your life just took a
I don't know
different
what to
trajectory.
do. Yeah. So it was that was kind of the period where, you know, and then I started throughout the next year, I was sort of figuring out how to make it a business. I didn't know how to work with other people. I didn't know how to set up the, you know, I had enough foresight, luckily, to set up my business as an LLC, to do everything the right way. But like, how do I expand? How do I get other people working on it? So getting David Yee and David Newbell on board that year, 2022, was really important for being like an actual like big boy.
For sure. Businessman. Yeah, 100%. And so there must have been just a crazy transitional period. And, you know, I'm sure there was a point where your game went from it's pretty popular to like, holy moly. What was that point for you? To where you're getting attention, but now it's reached a level that's kind of unprecedented.
There was a point where, so my girlfriend at the time, she was doing a rotation at a hospital, and she told me about how one of her coworkers' kids knew about Gorilla Tag, and that was really weird. And it only got weirder from there. Like it's really when, like, you know, when you're just on the computer and the internet, it's all like, it's all kind of make-believe.
Yeah.
So it's when it hits you in real life, in person, that it gets, like, I actually, my sister's wedding was recently, and had some cousins there whose friends didn't believe them when they said that they were related to me.
Wow.
Because so many kids lie about being related.
Of course. Oh, yeah. My dad works for Meta, actually. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. This is why, like, earlier before I said I try not to think about it, because, like, I just don't know how to wrap my brain around it.
Well, sure, and it's very hard to, I mean, like, anyone who's been successful online, it's like, once you start getting past the 10,000 subscribers, it's like, can you really conceptualize how many people that is?
Yeah.
You have 400 subscribers. Imagine 400 people in a room you're in.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anything past that, it's really hard to understand.
It's just numbers.
It's numbers.
It's true. Like, that's one of the, such a weird part of being a human being is we walk around pretending like we understand what the hell's going on, and then we talk about these numbers as if they mean anything to our monkey brains, right? Like, it's it's
true that.
I think that if I really understood what the numbers actually meant, I think I would just be terrified 24/7. I think I couldn't handle it.
No, it's immense pressure. So, you know, we're at a point now where Gorilla Tag has this extreme cultural influence. All these kids know what it is. It's a tightly knit community. Where do you see this game going in the future? How do you want to develop it? And especially in a world where Meta is taking their focus towards wearable smart glasses, the cell phone on your face,
Yeah.
and less of a direction just from what we've seen on actual VR headsets. How do you plan to develop this game? What are you excited about?
You know, it's interesting in a lot of ways. Like, people talk about VR as if it's this totally new and emerging thing, but it's been kind of like in consumer grade stuff for like 10 years now. So it's not that early. But at the same time, the way that we understand how to build stuff still feels like that is very early, right? Like, it's not like progress is totally linear, right? Like, it's not like every single year understanding and app development and all these stuff, it's not linear. It's very like fits and starts and bursts. And when I think about Gorilla Tag, like, I'm thinking about, like, you know, the kids who are playing today are going to grow up and go to college and get jobs and start building things of their own that are informed by the game. And that's not going to be for another 5 to 10 years. There are other things where it's like people are building today on what was already built and going out in new directions. There are people who are taking inspirations and putting their own, like, in changing stuff. So, like, what I'm really interested in, and you know, the thing that kind of like motivates me is that I want to keep like developing our understanding about, like, what do people find valuable and interesting, and what is bringing people back? Yeah, like, what is the future of this technology and how it connects people? How do you build these places? How do you reach different, like, segments of the population, right? Because when I think about my experience with Echo Arena, the thing that still speaks to me the most is how I was involved in a community that I would not have independently sought out. It was something that I can tell improved my life, especially socially, but I wouldn't have done it on my own. And I think about how a lot of VR is, you know, especially like the Gorilla Tag audience and even like the tech enthusiast audience, you know, it's much more male dominated, it's a lot younger. But I think about these, like, these social connections and these worlds and these experiences are valuable to everybody. So how do you figure out how to make different things in different ways to reach more people? Because ultimately, like, everybody at work keeps telling me that I need to take more time off because I work more than I should. And the reason I do it is because I feel like if I don't build this stuff, it might not happen. And I really feel like there's something incredibly special and valuable about these experiences, especially things that I've had and that I've connected to, that I worry if they don't exist, it's going to suck for the people who it otherwise would have been meaningful for. Does that make sense?
Like people it has not yet reached?
Exactly. Like, I think of it as like you know, during the pandemic too, like, I ended up playing a lot of Gorilla Tag with my family and being able to see my parents and my brother and my sister and have these times when it felt like we were much closer than we had to be because we were so far apart. And anybody who's had family with health issues knows that, you know, your relationships and your connections are the most important thing. Like, at the end of the day, all you have is your health. The people you care about aren't going to be there forever. And the opportunities that I had through VR to connect with other people, including my family, without it, it would have been much more disconnecting. And so, like, I try to think about things like experiences like that I've had, where I feel like there's an opportunity in this space with this tech to enable more of those things for other people. And
do you think that's where it's going right now? Do you think it is being enabled for more people, or there is no driver behind it to make sure that these people get that experience?
I worry that the way the industry is moving, it's, you know, it kind of goes back to that original thing. What is VR versus what did people expect it to be? I think that we're still kind of in this state where people are driving the technology towards where they want it to be, as opposed to where they see it having the most value, making the most impact. And what I want to spend all my time doing, and the reason that I try to like work so hard, it's really because I feel like that increases the chance that we'll be able to get this stuff to a point where it makes the most difference for the most people. Like that's really at the end of the day where I think like my drive for making this stuff comes from. Like even when I was making Gorilla Tag, like the reason why I decided like I'll make something, because I was not a game developer. Like I did software and coding and stuff, but I didn't make Unity. I don't have any previous game dev experience. But the reason I did it was because I had these feelings about why VR was valuable and meaningful to me. And my sense was like, okay, well, this is what I think. And I don't see other people building things in that direction. So if I think I'm so smart and I've got such a great beat on things, then I should put my money where my mouth is and make something. And my thought was, maybe if I make something that's really cool, maybe if I make something that has interesting ideas and does something that is meaningful, then or like a real game developer might try it out and be like, oh, that's cool, and then they might build it into something they're making. So when I was making it, it was really like, I just wanted to put my sense of what I thought was meaningful about VR out into the world and hope that something happened. And that's really kind of still where I am in a lot of ways, where the thing that I care about the most is making this thing happen. I'm not particularly chasing like any specific outcome, right? Like I'm not trying to make, of course I want to make Gorilla Tag as successful as possible. Like, we've got a business
this is
to
a
run.
business.
But as far as like the core motivation, right? Like the reason why, it's because I think that there's something really meaningful about the technology, and it's the kind of thing where if I really believe in it, then I have to do whatever I can to make it happen.
So how do you quantize that? Is it more people with headsets? Is it more people playing Gorilla Tag? How do you measure that these people are getting these experiences? Like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I think people is probably the best measurement, just like number of people who are engaging with it. Yeah, people who are playing, people who have headsets, people who are playing all these different games and experiences and stuff. And, like the thing, you asked me before, like, how could I tell, like, there was some success? The weirdest part is talking to a kid that I've never met before who's, like, losing their mind off of meeting me, because, like, I'm just some guy, man. Like, I have got, everybody's in their own head 24/7, and I don't know this kid. I don't know anything about them. But talking to them and seeing their response and all that stuff, and I've talked to a bunch of parents who tell us stuff like, hey, my kid really struggled with making friends and meeting people and talking to them, but through this game, they've developed these skills, this self-confidence, this ability to engage with people, and now they're much more outgoing. They're talking to people. They're able to engage with their peers and stuff. For me, it's the experience that I had where I went out and I started talking to people I otherwise wouldn't have. My measure of success is if I can put more of that into the world. If there's something about this technology that is able to solve a real problem that people have in their lives, like this true social connection problem, which is, this is something that people talk about all the time, and it's almost always in the context of, man, doesn't it suck that this is happening and there's nothing we can do about it? Like, what I think is interesting about VR is like, I think about it like, we're meeting up at an undisclosed location so as not to dox either of us, but it's hard to meet up in real life, right?
Sure.
Like, if we're going to be talking after this, it's probably going to be online through VR, all these other things. But the experience you can get in real life you can only get it there. So I'm thinking about like, you've got your friends from work and they've got kids and you've got kids, or your schedules don't align, and maybe someone moves half an hour away or something.
Yeah,
and it becomes this huge barrier. Life happens. But with VR, you can just put on your headset and you can be present with those people. Like video calls can't do that. The phone can't do that. Texting can't do that. Nothing can replace that feeling of being together with another person in real life. And I think that there's an incredible amount of value to that. And being able to do anything I can to increase access to that for other people, like filling that social need, giving people that interaction that they could only otherwise get in person, which is more and more difficult all the time. That's what's meaningful to me. And like, talking to kids, talking to parents about their kids' experiences,
For sure.
like that's what gives me the confidence that this is making a difference, right?
It seems to me like your motivation is profound. It's a very high level way of thinking. It's a very human experience. And the funny thing is that you were able to achieve that by making one of the simplest games possible. Like Gorilla Tag is not a very technically complicated game, and visually it's very simple too. But the motivation behind it is something kind of otherworldly. It's like human connection in its purest form.
Yeah.
Merging with technology.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree, everyone watching this, that VR is the future. Like there's going to be a point in time where humans are going to be spending most of their time probably in a virtual space, whether working a job, hanging with family, or just consuming entertainment. Is Meta the company to take it to that point? Is there going to be a smooth transition between the wearables every day and then a fully enclosed capsule on your face? Is there going to be a merge there at one point that's going to happen smoothly, or are we going to get to that point?
I have always maintained that I feel like I have an incredibly poor imagination. So I say this a lot, and it's because, until I tried Echo Arena, I didn't have a sense of like what was meaningful about the social interaction, physical interaction with the space. Gorilla Tag, like you're saying, I mean, it doesn't get simpler, right? It's a game about playing tag and you're gorillas, right? Like, I was actually initially trying not to make it gorillas, but the movement was just such, like, that's how gorillas,
a monkey.
Right? It's perfect.
And naturally you just want to start like making monkey noises.
There's one video in particular I loved. It was a Japanese player, and he's talking to, I forget if it was just YouTube or stream or friends or whatever, and then he ran into an English-speaking player, and he's talking Japanese to him, and then the guy's speaking English back, and then at one point he just starts going, ooh, ooh, and then the other just making monkey.
Yeah.
So that all that stuff, like the moment that clicked for me in Gorilla Tag about how there was something special there is the first time it was networked with another person, and I saw them, and I was like, I gotta catch this guy. It was no longer like, how's my game working? What's the interaction? Blah, blah, blah. It's like that moment of like, it short circuits your brain, and it's like, I have to catch them. And like you're saying, it's that core like experience. And that was the moment that I was like, okay, I've got something, there's something to this. Like, regardless of how successful it is, there's something good about this experience. There's something valuable, and that's what drove me to release it. So when we're talking about like potential future stuff, who's going to do what, all that's, I truly don't know. Like, there's so many unknowns. The world is changing so fast. There's all this crazy stuff happening all the time, that what I can say for sure is that I don't think VR needs new technology to be meaningful and valuable. Like, I think when a lot of these conversations are happening around the technology and the wearables and AR versus VR, and what does XR mean, and what does mixed reality mean, and what's the form factor? All these discussions are like really couched in this idea of, okay, well, what we have right now is clearly not good enough, but in the future, then it'll be really awesome. So, at some point, the glasses will do everything, or we'll just have contact lenses, and it'll, like, of course all that stuff is happening at some point, but what I'm really focused on is just like, what can we do with the technology we have now?
Right now.
Because not only do I have no imagination, but I'm also incredibly impatient. It's like,
that's a great quality though.
Whatever it is, I want to do it now. Like, there's something about the headsets that you can do today. I still exclusively develop and play on a Quest 2 because even though you haven't been able to buy one for over a year now, that's the thing that is the most cheap and accessible to as many people as possible. And if you build something on the Quest 2, it's going to work on everything. And so my focus is, I think the technology we have today is already so incredible we could stop all R&D on everything, and we could just stick with the technology we have right now. And I genuinely think that we could be building incredibly new, amazing, innovative stuff for the next 20 years and not run out of ideas to play with. And so my focus is on how do we make what is available now accessible to more people? Because with all the new technology and stuff, all of that, every time there's a new thing that comes out, technology is expensive, R&D is expensive.
Yeah.
Creating the new production line is expensive, and time. So
it's only going to go. They're only going to get smaller. It's going to
Yeah.
be eye tracking, mouth tracking, and it's
Yeah.
going to be like pocket size. You just pop them on and you're there. Like it's only going to get better.
All this stuff is coming, and if we can start if we can figure out how to keep pushing forward on the software side and not rely on the hardware innovations, that is what is going to open the door to so many things. Because like Gorilla Tag, it only got released in 2001, but it would have worked on the Rift in 2016. There was nothing special about the technology available that enabled it that we couldn't make 5 years earlier.
Right. You mean at any point in time where a headset and a pair of two controllers existed, Gorilla Tag would have been playable.
But the reason
that experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason it took that long is because it was building on the work that other people did in terms of the design and building the worlds and experimenting
It's all
with different
new.
things.
So all of this has never existed before.
It's everybody's building on each other's shoulders, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many things that I feel like, of course I feel like, I feel proud of what I've accomplished and what I've added, but I never want to have this mindset of like, oh, this is something totally new that couldn't have existed without me. It's like I'm building on what other people have made, and at some point, there's actually another. I think it was called Lucid Trips. It was a Steam VR game that also had walking on your hands stuff. It wasn't, it's not the same type of experience as Gorilla Tag. The movement is different, but the idea is still there, right? Like, it's not, now I hadn't played it before I came out with Gorilla Tag, so it's sort of like this independent, like building together, right? These are ideas that are sort of swirling around in the collective consciousness. But the point is that, like, it is the ideas and the vision and the understanding and the values. Those are the that's where it's not linear work, right? Like if Meta is investing tons of money in R&D that nobody else is.
Yes.
In a lot of these new headsets and glasses, form factors, all this other kind of stuff. And I don't mean to downgrade or denigrate or whatever, because obviously all of that stuff is tough. And it's not like research doesn't have its own epiphanies and moments
Of course.
and stuff. But a lot of engineering work especially, right? A lot of that stuff is just working the problem. It's investing the time, it's investing the resources. Here's what you have today. You want it twice as good next year. How do you get there? You go through and you solve the problems. A lot of those problems are just straightforward in a different way, right? Like if you think of Moore's law or something, right? With CPUs, double the transistor count every 18 to 24 months. That is something where it's like, it does require all of these new things, but at the same time, there's a very clear target that you're working towards. I think with software and how do you build these things and how do you make experiences that are meaningful and valuable for actual customers that people want to engage with, that is often very difficult, and it requires a different type of work that is not, it doesn't have that same trajectory, right? Like you can target, hey, I want more people to play this thing, but you have to get people to care, right? Like you can say, I want a headset with twice the pixel density, and that's a very clear target to build towards. It's a totally separate problem to say, do people care about twice as much pixel density? That's an open question. I think that's what a lot of what
There's
Meta
always
is trying
going
to do is
be room to improve the technological side.
Yeah.
What do the
and-
people actually want and for
Exactly,
how much?
and that's the question that is constantly being asked in the market is, okay, you've made this thing, do people even care?
Right.
That's tough.
When you see, other games on the store explode with popularity, or just other games in general that are using a form or the exact same locomotion that you had developed, how do you feel? What goes through your mind when you see other people work off of this creation?
There are a ton of different aspects to this question that weren't directly asked, but I'm going to probably get into a bunch of it. At its core, I think it's awesome.
Okay.
when it goes, like, I released the original version of the Gorilla Tag locomotion. Of course, it doesn't have all the fancy stuff that we've added since, but I released it open source because it was like, in my mind, the hand-based movement, it's kind of like stick movement on a controller, right? Like that way that you move through the
Standard.
world. It's not that anybody should own it exactly, or there's like one person that came up with it. It's like, this is the best adapted to the medium way of interacting and existing in that world. And by the same token, I think in VR, for the technology we have, for the way that you interface with it, walking on your hands, I think it's the best thing. I think basically every game would be better if it had walking on your hands.
Yes,
And
that means all shooters, all zombie games, we're going full guerrilla locomotion. I don't know if like a Call of Duty type shooter would work. Like, don't you want that, like, you want to peek around corners and you need both hands?
That's the reasonable answer, but deep in my heart, I still think it would be
There's
better.
a way to do it.
I still think it would be better.
There's a way to do it.
That's what I added in the paintball mode for Gorilla Tag. Like, yeah, you have to stand there to shoot at somebody, but now when you have to jump and then shoot, it's this totally new. Some people just sit there and they just shoot at people a bunch, and they get people so off base that they can't stop to shoot back at them, and that's how they play. And it's totally. So yeah, I do actually think that. But then there's also other levels to it, right? Because when someone like so we also get a lot of rips of Gorilla Tag, right? People decompile the project and they just re-release it.
Like whatever tag, and they have a mod menu built in, stuff like that.
I think that kind of sucks. But even that one I'm of two minds about, right? Like, for the people who are just trying to like rip it off and just sell stuff in that game, I think that fully sucks, right? Like when someone's just straight up trying to steal, that sucks.
It's copying my test, bro.
For a long time, I was frustrated because my mindset was, I released this movement open source. I was hoping people would take it and jam on it and do new ideas and all these other things. But what I've kind of realized is that a lot of it is just kids, right? Like they're not cloning the game because they've got some evil plan. They're cloning the game because they're like 12 and they're learning how to use the computer, and they think this is just so sick that they just want to do something, and then they do that. And I think that can be awesome, right?
For sure.
Like, I think of it like, you know, kids who are learning how to draw, and they're just like tracing pictures of Goku,
no malicious
right?
intent.
Yeah, that's awesome, because that's how they're getting started. Because in 5-10 years, they're going to be then they will be making their own stuff, which is really
and
awesome.
Also think about, like, well, besides rips of Gorilla Tag, think about all the work that goes to getting a game on the store. I mean, navigating the developer dashboard, making sure you meet all the, you know, performance checks and that your game is optimized, marketing it. I mean, there's so much to learn. I mean, when we put out SHMACKLE, everything I'm learning for the first time, it was unbelievable how much work goes into putting out a game for people to play. And these kids are learning at 12, 13. You know, so it's incredible.
I started working on Gorilla Tag towards the tail end of 2019. So I was 29. I'm 35 now. I wasn't doing any of this stuff when I was 12.
No,
you know, like,
seriously.
they've got such a crazy head start.
Exactly.
But what's also interesting, I bet you have a totally different perspective now when you hear like, oh, devs are lazy or whatever. You know?
Whoa. I mean, I don't think I ever consider them to be lazy, but my respect levels for solo devs definitely shifted. And not only that, I think the best coding I can do is hello world. Like, that's the best I can do. So not only making a game, but then just going through all this, and then, you know, for a week we didn't pass whatever it's called, like point number 17, you know,
the
VRC check, right? So, you know, oh man. Anyways, that's another conversation, but it's insane.
At the end of all of it, like, I think that, you know, this again just goes back to the fact that I feel like there's so much potential in VR, and when people are making stuff and building new things and jamming on ideas, and like because everybody's building off of each other too, right? Like, nobody is in a vacuum. Nobody owns a concept. Nobody built it on their own with no input from anybody else, right? Like, nobody goes into an empty room and just like thinks so hard, and they have this perfect idea that nobody else contributes
and it's all
to
mine.
all.
It's all mine. And
exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Like, this is something that we're all working on together. Like, I really firmly believe that a rising tide lifts all boats, right? Like, VR is only successful when there's enough going on. Like, there's never going to be one thing that is so powerful that it just people only go to the platform for this one thing. That's just never going to happen. So the fact that like there are more people building stuff and being part of it, and people are playing one game and then they're playing another game and then they're playing another game. As long as people are keeping putting on the headset, that's the most important thing.
For sure.
So like of course competition and all that other stuff, like that's the business side of things that I don't like thinking about, because I just want to make the games and stuff. So the belief in my heart, which is not necessarily a business belief, but just what I care about as a VR enthusiast, is just like I love seeing people make stuff
Good
and
for
have
you.
be awesome things.
I
right?
think that's
like,
totally the right way to look at it. They are kids, unless someone's actually trying to hurt the brand or the company.
Yeah.
That's a different story. For the kids that are making things, like you tapped into something. It's amazing that your mindset is let them play, let them discover and explore and build off of what is something great. And this is definitely the right way to go about it, because I feel like there's so many opportunities where you could have been like, this is proprietary, you have to license it, and I know for a fact other games are building their own code to mimic the locomotion. But I pretty much have like 2 more questions. So on the creator side, I'm going to get a little selfish here, but Gorilla Tag created so many YouTubers, many of which you're familiar with. How did you feel seeing this kind of like creator uprising? And what did you think about a little creator named jmancurly coming up? Like, what was the first time you saw a video, or like, what was the introduction to the world of J-Man?
it's really funny that I spent so much time working on the game and then starting to see like the little trickles, right?
Yeah.
You see the video where when the game first came out, I was the best at it, right? Like I was a competitive Echo Arena gamer and doing all this stuff, so I'm playing, I'm da-da-da-da. And then, things start happening, other people, and then it starts becoming a real thing. And I think what was so cool about Gorilla Tag is how many of the creators were Gorilla Tag creators specifically, right? Like there's so many things about the game that I didn't even understand. Like even things like when I first released it, I was back and forth on whether there should be, and let me know what you think of this decision afterwards. I was thinking, should I put a time limit on the rounds? Because if someone is just like running circles around the room, they've won basically, right? So you put a time limit of like 5 minutes or something, and that keeps the game going. And I ended up not doing it because specifically I was like, well, if someone is so cracked that they're able to just always win, it would suck if the moment they were having like a really good chase or something, and someone was about to catch them, but they didn't, and then the round just ended, and it just
I was on such a good streak. I think that was the right decision, because also you want to give players the freedom to say, dude, get down from there, bro. We're trying to tag you. Come reset the round. It amplifies the social aspect.
And all those other things, like the mini games where people choose how they play, the people who are just hanging out and doing whatever. Like there's so many things that I didn't do intentionally, and it's the same thing with the creators, right? Like when I built the game, it was like people ask me like, oh, what's it like building a kids game kind of stuff? Like I didn't make a kids game. I made a game that I thought was fun.
Would you say you're a child at heart?
I don't know what I am at heart. I'm something at heart.
You're definitely a game designer.
Yeah, I anytime we're doing like play tests, whatever, like there's I forget if it was this year or last year. For Easter we had a like just a carton of eggs. So like in half of our play tests, I'm just throwing eggs at people.
Cool.
So maybe it's nice to call that child at heart.
Of course, I think it is in you. I think it is in you.
But either way, like what I saw was that people were using it in a totally different way. And the creators and people making videos and skits and plays and all these things, none of that stuff was something that I intended for or like thought, oh, I'll build this in this way to make this thing. So seeing people engage with it, respond to it, build on each other with it, like definitely I think the first person that I noticed get like any kind of like start to rise up, I want to say it was Eric.
Yeah, it was Eric.
Eric, 15 or something.
Yeah.
Like
my boy.
Like seeing that and being like, huh.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing. And then I remember seeing you and the yellow tape and all that stuff. It was funny, those early days, my dad was the one who was watching absolutely everything. He's the classic proud dad, like him and my mom came and cheered me on when I was competing in Echo Arena and stuff. So he was just looking at all these things. And he would tell me, oh, so-and-so made this video, jmancurly made this video, and he's doing this thing. So that's how I'm pretty sure I heard about you through my dad from that early on
awesome.
period. And it was like, there's so many things that are such a, it's such a special thing to have so many people kind of independently caring about something in totally different ways, right? Like I was coming at it from a different angle than you were coming at it from, than so many other people, and all these things were happening. And I think that's what's so special about it, that strong like social force of VR, of that real true interpersonal connection. Like there's something about it too where, you know, I forget what we said our last numbers were. It's something like, you know, it's over 12 or 15 or something like that million players, which is again a number that's
insane.
Completely incomprehensible. At
Total
the same
players.
time, people who've played Gorilla Tag, at the same time, that's like a successful game. Like plenty of successful games have that many players. But at the same time, it is the way that people engage with it, and like the social media and the communities.
It's much bigger
and the
than that.
It's so much bigger. There's something about VR that has such a strong multiplying effect on the culture around it. And I really think it just always comes back to that social experience. Like, even when you're watching a video that somebody else made about the game, you can tell they're in VR. You can tell that's not just a character that's been animated. It's a person waving around and looking around and moving. So even when you're watching a video on your phone, your connection to that person isn't, oh, this is like a cartoon character. It's the same reason why people engage with videos that are like selfies and kind of thing, right? Because there's a person on the other side. And I think there's so much of that element of VR, and that's what's so much of what brings the communities together, people of these different interests and all those things. Like, I really think it keeps coming back to the strength of that experience that you can't get anywhere else.
100%. Well, Eric1515 was definitely the first Gorilla Tag YouTuber. He was the first to make tutorials on how to wall climb. So these are the advanced moves. And he was the first YouTuber I saw where I'm like, wow, I'm about to watch this guy blow up. And I'm like, well, why don't I try making a video?
Yeah.
And the amazing thing is through Gorilla Tag, through VR, Elliot, VMT, Eric1515, and I were genuinely best friends in real life. Like, these are people who will be at my wedding. Very close friends. And it happened, like, I met VMT in a random Gorilla Tag lobby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, didn't you leave a comment on my video that one time? This is before like 1,000 subs, whatever, 2,000 subs. It's insane. So it really is more than just some game. The influence is so large. So I've got one last question for you. You know, we've got a lot of kids watching, a lot of young people, and a lot of parents watching with them. If you had any type of advice to give to them, or some words of encouragement if they're looking to get into the world of game development or anything like that, what's something you would want to warn them of from something you've been through that you wish you had known, a past mistake or inspiration that you can give these young developers? Or young people who want to impact the world and believe in something strongly, whether it's VR or not.
I think one of the interesting things about this whole experience is I always feel out of place in a lot of ways. Like, whenever I'm amongst other game developers, you know, they're talking about, I've been doing this for this amount of time and I worked on this thing and I know these people. And it's an experience that I just can't connect with. Not because like there's anything wrong with my past or anything, but there's something like I feel like when I made Gorilla Tag, I just sort of like noodled on something and I made it and I put it out there and I got this response. And it's this feeling of, it's often a lot more possible to do something than you think it will be. Like, I never really made games, and I think that's in part because I had this sense of assuming that it would have been much more difficult than it was. And of course it's incredibly difficult and you have to work really hard. But at the same time, it's something that you can like accomplish, right? Like, I think that I had a lot of things for a long time where, you know, maybe it's just because I didn't care about it as much or I wasn't as passionate. But I also worry that there were a lot of things where it's like, well, maybe I'm interested in doing that, but like, is it really even possible? I think that like a lot of things as they are in the world are not that way because that's the way they have to be. And I think that it's often tough to tell what are the things that are like, you know, you can't jump in the air and reach 100 feet because of the laws of physics, right?
Some things are unattainable.
Some things that is actually the way they are.
I'm not going into the NBA.
But there are a lot of things that are that way just by random chance, you know? Like, it is actually possible to make something. It is actually possible to like have an insight or find something that is unique that nobody's built before. And if you care about it and you think it's meaningful and you work towards building it, it's not actually pointless to try. Like, of course, nobody's guaranteed any kind of success. I think luck played a large role in kind of how things went for Gorilla Tag especially. So I'm not trying to have this perspective of like, oh, you know, if you believe in something hard enough, it'll happen no matter what, right? But at the same time, things can't happen unless you try.
Of course.
Right? Like, opportunities are there. There are things that you can build to change stuff. And unless you give it a real try, like, wouldn't it be a shame if the thing that ended up stopping that thing from existing is you thinking that you couldn't do it, you know? Does that make sense? Yeah, exactly.
Blockage.
That's the thing.
Luck is a combination of preparation and opportunity.
Yeah.
You were secretly preparing this whole time with software development, and playing these games and getting so into VR that when the opportunity presented itself, you were ready, and that's what took it forward. And I think what we can both speak on is that great success usually comes from pure passion. Like, you just wanted to make something great. It didn't come from big ideas and I want to make all this and explode. It really came from, let's make something that I like, something that's within me and that's I really care about. And
my goal for the game when I released it, I was like, in my head, I was like, I will consider this to be a success if at any time of the day I could jump on Gorilla Tag and there'd be at least one full room so I could hop on and play whenever I wanted.
That's crazy. And you know, conversely, my definition of success is if I have a comment on a video that I can reply to and people to talk to who watch my videos, then I made it.
Yeah.
This metric is so small, but it grows upon itself. So anyways, man, congratulations on all your success.
Yeah, you
I'm
too.
very glad we could come to talk about this, and we've got some cool stuff cooking. So smash that subscribe button. You gotta say it.
Smash it.
And go download Gorilla Tag right now. Thank you for watching. Peace.
Bye-bye.